What if I had a young person who had the faith to say, I'm not gonna deal with this anymore. I'm not gonna struggle with this anymore. I'm gonna push through the crowd to get to the feet of Jesus, to see my healing, to receive my healing. What if there was faith? What would change about your life? Everything. Everything would change.
Yeah, you can give it up for that. Can I encourage you? I got some teens that are going to be at this event because, man, they've gone to the other two and they loved it. It was amazing, fantastic. So get your teens there. They will love it. They will have a blast, and God will do a work in their lives. How's everybody doing today? Surprise, I'm preaching today, okay? Matt is down in Harrisonville today, and we are preaching the same sermon. So, we got a little competition going. No, I'm kidding. Not at all. We're preaching the same sermon, 2 locations today. It's been a minute since he's been down in our Harrisonville campus, and things are just going fantastic. In case you haven't heard, they moved to 3 services, and God is up to something amazing in Harrisonville. Yes, so good. So we are excited. How'd you guys like this little wall thing going on behind me? It's pretty cool. Pretty cool stuff. Thank you guys. I know it was because you guys gave that we get to keep adding really cool things to this auditorium. And God is doing amazing things here in our Lee Summit campus as well. God is moving in lives. It has been tremendous. We get to hear the stories week after week. I love that new song, just talking about the changes. Don't you tell me he can't do it, because he's doing it in lives. I love being a part of what God is doing. Well, this morning I wanted to quickly make one more announcement, and it's this. This coming Friday night is our women's conference. Yes. It is going to be a fantastic weekend together. It's Friday night and Saturday from about 9 to 2. And let me just tell you this. I went down to Springfield this weekend to see my daughter at college and had a weekend there. But we went to a women's, like a one-night event down there in Springfield. And I was reminded of just the value of ladies getting together for the purpose of worship, for the purpose of inspiration. Our topic is destined for more. And I just really believe that God has something powerful he wants to do in the ladies that are here this weekend. So if you haven't gotten register on the website today, eaglecreekchurch.com. Just scroll down a little bit and find the women's conference link, and you can find out more details there. We are so glad to have this weekend coming, because I'm so excited to be with you here Friday and Saturday. So let's get into today's sermon. It is called Raising Godly Kids, okay? And so if you're a parent, you're like, yes, finally a parenting sermon. If you're not, you may be like, I came on the wrong Sunday, okay? I believe this. Every Sunday there is something you can take away. So listen, dig in. You can spread the word. You can share this with other parents. If you're a grandparent, this message is for you as well, because I believe in the influence of grandparents in our kids' lives. If you have grandkids, you still have the ability to pour into their lives, not just your own kids. So there's my 2 cents. Okay, in the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, Stephen Covey, he writes this. One of the 7 habits is begin with the end in mind. Such a great concept, with the end in mind. Here's the quote. It says, to begin with the end in mind means to start with a clear understanding of your destination. It means to know where you're going so you can better understand where you are now and the steps that you need to take in the right direction to get that in the right direction. I think of how we were like, hey, Siri, beware your phones might go off, okay? Hey, Siri, take me somewhere. What's Siri going to say next? Where do you want to go, right? She's like, I can't give you a map to get there if you don't tell me your destination. You got to give me the destination. The same is true with parenting. If we don't know where we're aimed at, if we don't know what the final product is, it's really hard to raise that kid to become that person if you've never considered what you're hoping for God to do in their life. Right? At the church here, we say we are empowering people to become all that God created them to be. As a parent, that's my job, to empower my child to become everything God created them to be. Well, what does that look like for Evan and Emmy and Addison and Gabe? We have 4 kids. We have a 21, 20, 18, and 15-year-old kid. We're in the thick of the fun phase of parenting in a lot of ways, right? But in a lot of ways, it's really the most rewarding phase we've ever been through, too, because we're getting to see the fruit of the hard work we've put in for 21 years. Here's the deal. We got to have a long-term view, not just in the moment view. And it's really easy to get sucked into the busyness of life and the chaos of parenting, right? I got to change a diaper, I got to do the laundry, I got to do this, I got to do that. And they're screaming and they're yelling and they're puking and all the things, right? And you're like, I just want to survive another day. I haven't gotten ahead to think of how to do this thing right. But can I encourage you, take a step back, process through that, pray through that, say, God, what is the final thing we're looking at? And how do I get there? I'm going to recommend 2 books to you, okay? The first one was something I read when we had school-age kids. It's called Raising Great Kids by Townsend and Cloud. It's on your papers if you have the little notes papers in front of you. Raising Great Kids was an awesome book to read when we had kind of that school-age kid. We were saying, how do you do this thing right? It talks about raising your kids with the end in mind. And then I just, based on recommendation, read this book this winter break, and I was like, man, I wish I'd have read this 5-10 years ago. It's called 53 Things Every Child Needs to Know Before Leaving Home. It is fantastic. You should read this book. Yes, it looks thick, but I read it in a week. It's awesome. You won't want to put it down, okay? Such a good book. I love reading. Anybody else love reading? Do I have any readers in the house? Okay. I love reading, so for me, I'm always gleaning from other people. I recommend doing that. So here's the deal. As you read these books, as you process parenting, remember this. You are not raising a child, you are raising an adult. Everybody say that with me. Say, I'm not raising a child, I'm raising an adult. You've got to get your brain around that. That tantrum right now just seems like, please make that shut up, right? But I got to look at that through the lens of character. Why is this kid continually talking back to me? Why are they slamming doors in my face? That's not okay. I don't want him doing that to his wife, right? Like, this is not acceptable behavior. So you got to start now looking at it through that lens. If they did that in their home with their spouse, is that acceptable? Probably not. So I probably need to parent that moment, right? Okay, so I'm going to give you 4 things that will help you in this process of raising godly kids with a long-term mindset. The first one is take the lead. Everybody say, take the lead. Thank you. Take the lead. We live in a society that wants to make kids and parents equals. You be nice to me, I'll be nice to you. You give me what I want, I'll give you what you want. And we're a happy family. Sounds good to me, right? And all the kids said, amen, right? Okay, here's the deal. Sounds great, not biblical. Not even a little bit. Your kids are not equals with you. Listen to this quote. Youth Liberation Press, one of the most disturbing quotes I've seen in a long time. We want the power, this is kids, this is teens talking. We want the power to determine our own destiny. We want the immediate end of adult chauvinism. There's a new phrase. Age might once have led to wisdom, but the old have proven themselves unable to deal with the present reality. The young must take the lead. Yikes. Is that scary to anybody else in the room? They think they got it figured out. That is so not biblical. I'm going to give you guys 3 verses that I live by as a parent. They will give you some confidence to say, okay, this is biblical, that I'm in the parenting role. We are not equals. Proverbs 1:8 says, my child, listen to when your father corrects you. My child. So it's saying, father gets to correct, child needs to listen. Don't neglect your mother's instruction. Mom's instructing, kids are supposed to listen, right? Okay, so there you go. Bible says so. Proverbs 4:10-13, my son, listen, accept what I say. Then you will live for many years. I instruct you in the way of wisdom. I lead you along straight paths. So you see this father or mother parental role. I'm teaching. You're telling them. You're instructing them, right? And now listen to what it says. It says, when you walk, nothing will slow you down. When you run, you won't trip and fall. Hold on to my teaching and don't let it go. Guard it well because it's your life. Do you see this model? We see parents instructing and teaching and leading and kids following. And as they do, there's blessing there and there's protection there. And they're getting to run and not even be worried, right? Because it's right. It's the correct way. Ephesians 6:1. You guys probably have heard this one. Children, obey your parents in the Lord. And then look at that what's the last 3 words? Or what's that for? 4. Okay, here we go. For this is, for what? For children to obey their parents is right. Okay, so when your kid comes to you and says, you're not in charge of me, You can say, yes, I am, right? And we can be confident and we can be bold there. When our kids were little, they don't like for me to say this like at 20 years old, but when they were little, we had a phrase, obey, right away, all the way, in a happy way. Obey, okay? How soon should I obey? Right away. Oh, wait, all the way, right? Like, don't take the laundry out of the laundry machine and throw it on the floor all the way to your room, right? Like, get it out of there, okay? Obey, right away, all the way, and then the last part, in a happy way. Usually that's kind of where it broke apart in our home, okay? Like, did you get it done? Yeah. Did you get it done right away? Yes. Did you do it with a smile? No. Okay, but I'm telling you, I accidentally said this phrase to my 15-year-old the other day. He gave me a look, but did you obey right away, all the way, with a happy, he's like, Mom, really? So, but he knew it, right? He could have quoted it back to me. You see, it's not prideful for you to step into your God-given role. And I think that our society wants us to feel bad as parents being parents. Please don't do that. God asked you to parent your children, okay? Don't delegate it back to them just because they tell you they think that they're smarter than you. They're not. They really aren't, okay? They might be smart, but they haven't had the experience. God gave you these experiences so you could pour it into them. Okay, second point this morning is this: nurture them. Nurture them. So yes, we need to be confident in our God-given role to lead in our home. But we've got to be careful that we don't do it as a dictator, as an authoritarian ruler in our home, but in a nurturing, in a loving, in a safe way, where our kids feel completely loved and accepted and cared for, where our kids know that this home, I belong here. And these are my people, and they love me, even if I mess up, even if I do a really, 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 really dumb thing. When I come home here, yeah, there might be consequences, but I feel safe, and I feel loved, and I feel accepted. You see, our kids need a constant dose of verbal and physical affirmation and of affection. They need hugs. They need affection, whether they push you away or not. They need that affection. They need to understand what it is to build close relationships. We talked to our kids a lot about this when they were growing up, but the way that you feel in your home growing up, we need to teach them how to be a spouse, right? Like if I'm raising an adult, not a child, then I need to care when my kid's 12 and 13 about teaching them like, hey, this is how you will treat your future wife. Is this really the behavior you want to treat them with? No. Like, how does this behavior affect me long term? What kind of parent will you become? What kind of employee will you become, right? And so we need to teach them that they're learning now how to behave towards family. Ephesians 6:4 says, fathers, do not provoke your children to anger. And then it says this, but bring them up in the discipline and instruction of the Lord. Well, that feels just like correcting our children again. But when you break it down, that phrase, bring them up, is actually, it's called ektrophete in Greek, which means to nourish, to nurture, to bring up to maturity, to cherish. It says don't just scream and yell at your kids. Don't provoke them to anger. Don't always be yelling and screaming in their face, but bring them up, nurture them up, cherish them, love them in the instruction and the direction of the Lord. Like, nurture that into them. That's a very different picture, isn't it? Two very different ways to get there. One is just screaming and yelling. You see, we've been given a bigger role than keeping our kids fed and in a warm and dry place. God's asked us to love them, to care for them, to kind of take those times to bring them in close. Your home should be the safest place on earth for your kids. Amen. I want to tell you, when our kids were little, I was super into parenting. Like any other parents that are like super, super, super into being a parent? No, not one. Okay, I was super into reading books and I was like super, super into like intentionally doing things with my kids. And so like I did education in college, so I was all about like creating these fun environments in my home. Our house was a disaster 90% of the time because there was a fort in the living room and the kitchen. I took whole cans of shaving cream and I would spread them all across our kitchen table, and then I would just say go. And I have 4 kids, and for a while I had my 5 nieces and nephews living in our basement, so we had 9 kids for 2.5 years. years. It was awesome. And so I would just spray a whole can of shaving cream, and we would like draw words and designs and like build mountains of shaving cream, and then it'd be all over our faces and arms, and we would decorate each other. It was a total disaster, right? And all of you are like, oh, I loved it because I was playing with my kid. It didn't matter if I got laundry done or dishes done. I did not care. My husband most days would walk in and he'd be like, looks fun. I'm like, sorry, we'll get it cleaned up. And then he's like, no. He would jump in. I mean, it was a blast. One of the things we did is we would go to the Lee Summit public libraries, and I would say, okay, everybody get 10 books. So they all run, and you know, when you have 4 kids, everything is a lot. So it ended up with 40 books, you know, and so I'd be like, okay, let's go home. And so we would take our 40 books home, and we would cover the bottom of my bathtub with blankets and pillows, okay? No water included, just blankets and pillows. And all 5 of us, me and 4 kids, we would jump in the bathtub, and we would just take out the books, man, and we would start reading. And we had books on dinosaurs and Barbies and, you know, like military weaponry, and like we had every topic, you know, because we had 4 kids. It was a blast, and our kids still talk about it. Remember when we did book parties in the bathtub? And it was hours of reading and fun. Can I encourage you? Those moments matter. That's called nurturing. That's called loving your kids. Creating fun. Play with your kids. Tell them you love them a lot. Show them you love them a lot, right? Don't just say I love you and then go watch TV. Engage. Take time with your kids. A 2013 study from UCLA found that unconditional love and affection from a parent can make children emotionally happier and less anxious. It happens because your brain actually changes, isn't that cool, as a result of affection. Our affection actually changes their brains. That's a big deal. In 2015, a study in the University of Notre Dame showed that children who receive affection from their parents were often happier as adults as well. It just makes for a happier world that we're sending these kids out into the world as adults, happier people because of the love and affection they felt at home. Romans 12:10, love one another with brotherly affection, outdo one another in showing honor. How awesome of a home would that be? If you're trying to outdo each other with honor and with love and with affection and with all of the ways that you can show one another that they're awesome. What an incredible home. Your kids doing that for you, you doing that for your kids, creating a home of affection. When Harmon Killebrew was elected into the Baseball Hall of Fame in 1984, he said, my father taught me and my brother how to play ball in our front yard. One day my mom came out and told him that we were ruining the lawn, and my dad said, honey, we're raising kids, not grass, right? We're raising kids, not grass. And I think it's so important for us to remember, slow down, stop, pause, play, have fun, make it fun at home. Okay, third point today is protect them. Protect them. Not only do we need to love them, but we need to protect them. In Mark 8:36, it says, what does it profit of a man if he succeeds at gaining the whole world, but fails to keep his own soul? One of the challenges for me and Matt as parents has been to look at this and say, I know that they could be a scholarly person. I know that they could be an incredible athlete. I know that they could be an incredible business person. But my biggest, greatest goal for every one of my kids is that they love the Lord their God with all their heart and soul and mind and strength. And so, yes, we encourage them to be intelligent and to pour into their schoolwork and that kind of stuff. Yes, we challenge them to become better in all of their giftings. But we never want them to give up their soul to do it. We don't want them to give up the very thing that God created them for, which was relationship with Him. We need to protect them from wrong friends. This is, the older they get, I'm telling you, it starts when they're really little, but the older they got, the more I saw the intensity in which this is so true, guys. It says, 1 Corinthians 15:33, do not be deceived. Evil company corrupts good habits. Don't be deceived. But my kid's a good kid. My kid loves Jesus. But my kid is perfect. They're not going to fall prey to that. Don't be deceived. If I surround myself currently at my age with only worldly friends who don't have God in their life, who don't have a moral compass, it will eventually pull me down. How much more do we as parents want to protect our kids who aren't fully mature yet from that weight of the world pulling them down. It's so much easier to be pulled down than for me to pull them up. I'm not saying don't let your kids have any friends who aren't Christians. How would we ever reach the world? But your kids' closest friends, the kids that they invest time with and they hang with, need to be good influences on our kids. We've got to protect our kids. Proverbs 13:20 says, whoever walks with the wise will become wise, but the companion of fools will suffer harm. We need to talk to your kids about the friends they have. Are they making wise decisions? Is this a good friend choice? Or is this a really, really bad friend choice? Talk to your kids about that. It's hard because we're like, well, is that gossip? Is that slander? Well, at home with your kids, I think it's called protection, okay? It's called honesty and protection. Don't go sharing that stuff with the rest of the world, but protect them at home. You got to get to know their friends. I want to tell you a story. When one of our kids was in middle school, they got invited to a party at a friend's house, and I had met the family through school and all, and then we showed up at their house for this party. But I didn't want to just like drop off and keep driving, so I walked up to the door and I knocked on the door and I said, hey, I'm Sherry, I know we've met, but I just wanted to take some time, and if you're okay with it, come in your house and get to know you a little bit. And she's like, come on in, and you know, my kid went and joined the kid. This was teens, now middle school. And so we were talking, and I was asking questions. Are you going to be here? You know, I'm asking all the questions, but I actually was getting to know them a lot more before I was just going to leave my kid at the party. And her comment to me was, do you know, there's like 15 kids that already got to the same party. They're all in there hanging out. You're the only parent who came to my door. You're the only parent who took time to get to know me at all. She's like, I feel safe because they're in my house, but like they don't know me at all. They did not take any time to like get to know me and know that my house was safe. She's like, I'm not that parent. And I said, that's pretty common actually for a lot of us, because you feel awkward. You're like, I'm that parent. And your kid's gonna make you say, you're that parent, right? Like I don't wanna be that guy. But here's the thing, I thought of it this way. If somebody came up to me who I've seen in public, I've like seen them at the grocery store or at the school, and they're like, hey, can I borrow your car? Can you just give me the keys to your car? I'm gonna just borrow your car for a few days. I might take some time and get to know that person, right? Like, tell me your name. Do you have insurance, right? Like, tell me about you. What's your driving record? You know, like, tell me about you. I don't want to just hand you my precious possession of my car, which I bought for thousands of dollars, and trust that it'll be okay. But we do that with our kids. We literally like, here you go. Don't know you, don't even know your name, don't know what you look like, but I'm sure you're safe because your kid said so. Because I looked you up and I saw your picture on Facebook, right? Like, we legit hand off our kids to strangers and think it's okay. Don't do that. We got to protect them. Kids, if you're here, teens, if you're here, you know this. Your parents have said this, but I'm going to tell you this. If you want more freedom in life, freedom is earned through trust. Your parents will release the rope more and more and more as you make good choices, as you live a godly life, as you surround yourself with good people. They aren't going to let the rope go if you're making horrendous decisions and surrounded by worldly, really, 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 really bad choice friends. They're going to pull it in tight, and they're going to keep it in tight till that changes. Trust them. They know a little more than you do. Trust them. Surround yourself with good friends. I'm going to pick on somebody, and I literally feel like I'm going to cry right now. I don't know. I've never done this. I'm so sorry. I'm going to pick on you guys, Joe and Stacy. I want to thank you for being parents who did these things with your kids. Because you raised your kids godly, and you taught them these things. My son's best friends love the Lord, and they're 21-year-old, 22-year-old men who are chasing after Jesus with all their heart, but it's because of their parents. I just want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart. I see it, guys. We see it. Our kids are old enough now. Like, the influence, the role of a parent, like, it made a difference for Sam and Tim. It made a difference for Evan. They now found each other, right? Like, kids that want to stay on that straight and narrow path, they find each other. And they're good for one another, and they build each other up. Like, I can't say how incredibly blessed I am. My son's 1 billion miles away. It feels like he's in another country in Phoenix. But I know their son is right there with him. And he lives every day with that godly influence because of the way they raise their kids. You'll see this the older your kids get. Those kids that you're like, man, that family took the time to raise their kids. They took the time. So sorry, I don't know why I got emotional about that. All right. I don't cry, so that's really weird when I do start crying. Okay, Well, I do cry, just not very often. Okay, protect them from wrong influences. I want to talk to you guys about this. So the other thing that we see, people in education see this, people in ministry see these numbers a lot, okay? I want to give you guys some statistics. Proverbs 4:23 says, above all else, guard your heart, for everything you do flows from that. If I know that's true, I need to do that about myself, right? Like, I got to guard my heart. The influences I watch, the things I listen to, the music, the media, the social media, the stuff I put in me, it matters. I have to guard, I have to put a guard around my heart because it affects everything about my life, right? So when your kids are young, they don't know how to, they're immature, right? They're not fully there at figuring out those things that are dangerous to them. And so it's our job as parents to figure out, how can I protect them? How can I protect their heart and guard their heart? Here's the statistics. Teenage girls by the age of 13, almost all of them, it's 80% of girls by the age of 13 have downloaded an app on their phone or a filter on their phone so that they can change the way that they look by the time they post something on social media. They've found a way to adjust how they look before they ever post something to social media. Why would that be dangerous? Oh wait, we're teaching our kids not to love the way they look. They must look different to be happy in life, right? So help your kids guard from that. 80%, that's most of our kids that are doing that by the time they're 13, by the time they're in middle school. In 2019, a study of 13 to 16-year-olds found that using social media more than 3 times a day protected poor mental health in teens, So by the time they're 13 to 16, if they're on their phones, on social media more than 3 times a day, it leads to depression, poor mental health, anxiety. And man, if you're a parent of teens, you see this. You're like, man, you get off of those screens. It's like making you in a bad mood, right? That's why. American children spend an average of 8.5 hours in front of a screen outside of TV in a day. I'm like, are there even that many more hours in a day? Oh, wait, because most of them start at 10 p.m. and they go all through the night, right? While we're sleeping, they're in there, beep, 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 beep. That is not okay. That's so dangerous. The average kid our age that kids are exposed to pornography, 11 years old, and they said many are exposed to it by 8. This is an elementary school problem, not a middle school, high school problem. Pornography, our kids are being exposed because they have access to the internet. It's there, okay? So they're being exposed at really young ages. And 64% of teens said there's something on their computer or their phone that they dread the thought of their parents ever seeing. So more than half of American kids say there is something hiding on that computer, that phone, that I would die if my parents ever knew. We got to protect our kids, guys. We have to find ways to set a guard over our home and over our technology and over their phones so that it will protect them from the dangers of the world. They're not even trying to be bad. They're not even trying to go after immoral things a lot of times, and it just happens upon them. So we did some stuff in our home that seemed really extreme. Our kids are like, you're the strictest people that ever did live, and I was like, good, I'm glad. We made a rule that when we went to bed, not them, when I go to bed, your phone is not in your hand anymore. It goes to my bedroom with me. So we had a stack of 4 extra cell phones on our bathroom counter every night, all through their years. They did not love this rule, by the way, okay? It's like, it's 9 o'clock at night. I'm not even done with my homework, and I'm like, say goodnight to your friends. They'll say goodbye. Like they're literally saying goodnight to their friends at 9 o'clock. They did not love that rule, but it felt good for us. Maybe that's not the rule for you. The other thing we do is during meals, nobody's holding the phone in their hand. We put our phones down so we can talk to humans while we eat dinner together. Another thing we did is we made our phones and our computers very accessible. At any point in time, I could say, hey, Addison, hand me your phone. I can do a check on her phone. I can hand it back to her and say, good job, right? And most of the time, that's what I get to do because I do it, right? When you do it often enough, then they're like, I really don't want to be doing stuff on my phone because mom and dad are going to grab my phone. Again, kids don't love these rules, but guess what we're doing? We're trying to protect them. And guys, we didn't do it all right. Guess what? Even with all of the things that we tried to do, there is still a world out there that our kids, unfortunately, have been exposed to, right? Because they're American children in 2022. But we're going to do our very best to try and protect our kids from anything we can. And then the last part of that is just explaining to your kids Why is it wrong to talk bad about other people on social media? Why is it wrong to trash their reputation? How could that be bad? How could it be bad to talk about other people the way they look? Like, have these conversations. Why would it be dangerous to talk to a stranger that you don't know on social media? Why would that be dangerous? Have the hard conversations. There's 2 resources, again, that I want to give you. One is called Covenant Eyes, and you can put this on all of your devices. It's an accountability thing. So it's like parental controls that will not allow your kids to go to certain sites. So you can start with YouTube and all the things. By the way, YouTube, I was like, YouTube's innocent? Oh, goodness, no, right? Be careful with YouTube. I didn't know that. But here's the thing, Covenant Eyes will also do this. They will send you a daily or a weekly report of how your kid is doing. And if there's anything questionable, it'll tell you. It'll actually tell you where the sites that they went to. So Covenant Eyes is really good. And there's another thing, when you have younger kids, it's called Gab, G-A-B-B, wireless. Gab Wireless is actually a cell phone that does not go on the internet, and you cannot download apps onto it. It literally calls and texts and takes horrendously bad pictures. I found that out because one of my kids has it. So Gab Wireless, okay? So Gab there's no possible potential for getting on the internet or seeing anything. It's an awesome phone. So there you go, 2 random resources. Ephesians 6:1, I'm gonna give you this. Kids, teens that are in the room, you're sitting here thinking, man, I wish my parents didn't go to church today. Sorry, they did. They came to a good place today. So here's the thing. It's really frustrating when you're a kid and you're like, I don't understand why my parents have the authority to tell me who I can be friends with. That's so uncool. That's so unfair. That is totally uncool that you just told my parent to take my phone out of my hand. Husbands and wives, I encourage you to do the same thing for one another. It's called accountability, right? At any point in time, I can turn my computer, Matt can turn his computer, and I know we're safe. Why is that? Because we got each other to hold each other accountable, yeah. We trust one another. But we also have put up safety rails, right? Like to protect ourselves. We're all human. Everybody say, I'm human. Your kids are human. Kids, let me give you this verse one more time. Children, obey your parents in the Lord, for this is right. It doesn't feel right. It feels really annoying, but it's right. Okay? Last point this morning is this. Train them. Train them. Okay, this is more about being intentional, okay? The first one was the confidence to be in charge. This one's being intentional in the way that we talk to our kids, in the way that we train our kids, in the way that we raise them. Proverbs 22:6 says, train up a child in the way he should go, and even when he is old, he won't depart from it. I don't think train just means yell and scream and lecture your kids. No, it means stand beside them and teach them. It says talk to them. Walk with them, be with them, right? Do it with them. There's, for us, one of the things we really wanted to teach our kids is to be good cooks. And so we were like, man, all 4 of our kids, by the time they would go away to college, they can cook a full-on meal any day of the week, and they can be creative, and they know how to do it, from vegetables and meats to big meat, whatever, okay? Well, I didn't just go to my 5-year-old and say, hey, make me some chicken marsala, right? Like, I don't think that's a fair way to train a kid. And the other way isn't for me to just say, hey, this is the step 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Here's the recipe, and hand it to them. How do you train them? You teach them along the way, right? You're stirring cookie dough when you're 5 years old, and you're pouring in the milk, and you're making an omelet with mom and dad standing right beside you and learning when to flip an omelet, right? They're doing it with you. They're teaching you. They're showing you. They're standing beside you. When we're parenting, we've got to be doing it with them. We've got to be showing them by example. We got to be walking by their side to teach them effectively. Deuteronomy 11:18 and 19 says, so keep these commandments carefully in mind. Tie them on your hand to remind you to obey them. Tie them around your forehead between your eyes. How many of you want to send your kid off to kindergarten with like a giant, love the Lord your God, right? Like, funny picture. Teach them to your children. Talk about them when you are sitting at home, and when you are walking, and at bedtime, and before breakfast. And all I could think of when I read that is that family ate breakfast together, and they went for a walk together, and they ate dinner together. That family spent time together, didn't they? Intention. It was their intention to teach their kids. So my question for you this morning, if you're a parent, is what are the characteristics, what are the character qualities that you want to see your kids develop by the time they're an adult? What are those things that you really want to see in their life? I'm just going to give you a list of some of the things that mattered to Matt and I. Holiness. We wanted to see our kids growing more and more like Jesus. Not perfect, but more and more like Jesus. We wanted to see our kids respecting other people, showing honor and respect to kids, to adults, to friends. Being responsible. Responsibility was a big thing in our home. Like if you're told to do it, go do it. Do it with excellence, with a smile on your face. Be responsible. We wanted our kids to be curious and always learning and growing and growing and growing in their knowledge base. And that could be every different topic for all of our kids. It's been so fun to see them like learning new things. They're just curious people, generous people. We wanted our kids to be giving and sacrificial, helping other people. We wanted them to be honest. We wanted them to be kind. Guys, just because their body structure gets bigger, these things don't happen by circumstance. They don't. Your kid's not going to just by nature be an honest person without you teaching and training them what honesty is and how to get there and correcting them when they go off the rails, right? Like, you've got to think through these things. I could keep going. My list is long. We pray all the time, God, help us to parent this way. Help us to show them by example. Help us to teach them and to train them in godliness so that when they get old, they won't fall away. They won't stray far from that. But I'm going to be honest with you this morning. It's not easy, and there's a lot of heartache along the way. I've shed many a tear over kids who were hurting, my four, who made wrong choices, who maybe didn't listen to our advice and put themselves in harm's way, maybe didn't make the right choice and were suffering what we call natural consequences at school or at home. And it's painful to watch because you're like, I don't want them to suffer. But then the reality, it's God growing them into the man and the woman of God that they've been called to be. And there's people sitting here today and you're like, oh my gosh, I wish I could push a magic button and change my home, but that is so far from the way I've parented. You're not too late. If you still have kids in your home, if you have grandkids, can I encourage you, start today. Start today. But here's the thing. So many times that I've felt like, man, I'm losing this kid. This kid is not close to Jesus right now. They're making really wrong choices. This verse, John 10:10, the thief comes to steal and to kill and to destroy. I saw the effects of that on some of my kids over the years. And different times, different kids, and it breaks your heart. But then I had to remember every time, but God has already won the victory. God is stronger. God is more capable to fix this problem than I am. On my own strength, I don't have the wisdom. I don't know how to help them heal through that. I don't know how to help them get back up after they've made a wrong choice. But I do know this. I serve a God who does. A God who's strong enough and capable enough. And so whether you're here today and you're like, I just need wisdom, I need God's strength, I need God's help to figure out how to parent this kid or these kids. Whether you're here and you feel regret for the way you've raised them or the way you've been treating them, I don't know where you're at. Or whether you're like, I haven't even started having kids, but now I realize, man, I just need God to go before me. I want to take a moment and just pray for you. We're going to sing a song called The Battle Belongs to the Lord. And if I've learned anything as a parent, I mean literally anything, is I am insufficient. On my own, I have no clue how to do this thing called parenting. And so all the time, still, presently, I am down on my knees, begging God for his mercy, begging God for his wisdom, begging God to come through in my kid's life, begging for God to draw them closer to him. Whatever that is, where have I fought my battles? Not screaming at my kids' faces, down on my knees in prayer, crying out to God in total surrender. And so this morning we're going to end that way. I'm going to encourage you to sing this song as a prayer from your heart to God and just say, God, I am fighting this battle down on my knees. I'm believing in God, your purposes and your plans for this child, for my family, for my home. So would you do that with us this morning? I'm going to pray really quick and then we're going to stand up. Lord, right now, this morning. We're desperate for you. We recognize the world and the influence around us is so intense. We recognize that, God, without your help, we feel like failures at times. We feel like we haven't done it all right. We feel like the job is too big. And so, Lord, I pray right now today for every person in this room that, God, you would give them supernatural strength. That, God, you would go before them, give them supernatural wisdom and discernment. Give them the strength that they need to be faithful to the call of God to raise their children in the ways of the Lord. I pray that in Jesus' name. Amen.